Plants want to defend themselves from predation to some extent as well, right? Although it may be useful for their fruits to be eaten by certain creatures because birds might eat fruits, but that distributes seeds. Doesn't mean they want their structure eaten, because how do they produce if they're being eaten, right? So in spinach, you have a plant using oxalate for more than one purpose. So plants use oxalate in part to be able to draw minerals up into their structure. Oxalate is biochemically a mineral chelator. So it will bind with minerals. And in some cases, it'll create quite an insoluble bond. Oxalate has a whole list of what I call preferred dance partners, and that would be most of your double positive mineral ions. So if you're thinking magnesium, to some extent iron, zinc, copper, like lots of minerals that we actually need to have in our system can be potential targets of the chelation action from oxalate. So that's one thing that oxalate does. And plants use that. Plants use that to get minerals in. Plants may also be using oxalate, and even in its crystalline form, to support things like photosynthesis. So they're not only building it into their structure in one way or another, but they're using it, I'm going to say metabolically, to allow them to do their work more efficiently. But the other way that plants can use oxalate is as a defense against predation. And so your question was kind of leading into this part. Defense against predation, who's most likely a plant's greatest nemesis? Well, it's actually an insect.
Right.
So if you have something like spinach and you have those nice tender looking leaves, spinach doesn't tend to get eaten much by insects. They'll nibble at it. Sometimes you'll get some insects who can really handle spinach, but by and large, spinach doesn't need a lot of pesticides and stuff on it. And mostly that's because it's got so much oxalate in there. And so much of it is crystalline and insoluble oxalate that spinach can actually damage the mouth of the insect that's trying to eat it. And that would also apply to rhubarb plants. I mean, back in the day when I was growing up, almost everybody I knew had a backyard rhubarb plant. Well, those leaves looked pretty pristine, and that's partially because they're not nutritious. They're more poisonous than they are beneficial. Plants can be using this to prevent insects from being able to eat them. It's a really effective defense. If the insect can no longer chew because its mouth has been all broken up by these crystals, well, that's the end of the game for the insect, and certainly the plant wins.